Serious people who have worked with artificial intelligence, what is one of the scariest or most interesting things you've seen it do or say? I studied CS at the graduate level, master's degree, and took graduate level AI courses. As an undergrad in my first AI class, first day, I was amazed by a demo my professor showed, demonstrating how computers could make predictions about things they hadn't seen before. Simple example, he presented the system with a mushroom it had never seen before, and it made a prediction, whether or not it was poisonous. Blew my mind the first time I saw that demo work. Accurately made 10/10ths predictions. Having gone deep into AI, and having pulled back the curtain so to speak, I can say I'm not really worried about AI as many are. People worry about general AI like a C-3PO or Terminator. We are so far away from that. Humans are still better at so many things that are just hard for computers. Take something simple, like capture tests, e.g., which picture contains a storefront vs a home. Humans are categorization and pattern matching machines. It's what we do best. What computers are good at now is narrow AI like Deep Blue or the recent Google Go champion. These programs beat the pants of humans, but only for well-defined problems. TL. Doctor. My background is in AI. Most scariest, not scared of current state of AI. Most interesting, impressed by a basic mushroom categorizer when in undergrad. I work at Microsoft on a team that uses both machine learning and AI, and what I've learned is that they're actually really boring and kind of just a fancy way of doing statistical analysis. AI working ex-student here. Basically, nothing AI does is actually scary. It may be off, but you learn quickly that it was off because of something you did, not because of something it did by itself. Computers don't magically make errors, programmers do. So, small definition. I would say it is impossible to work on AI because true AI does not exist. For one simple reason. If you ask a random jerk-off, hey, what is AI? You will get an answer that is half regurgitated tropes and some Asimov, half just plain Alft circular jerking, and some sprinkles of delusions. Human stupidity beats AI behavior 9/10ths times. In fact, I would say the best cure for alarmist OMG robot AI will exterminate us all in next year's news from people who understand as much about AI as Asimov understands about making infallible laws is to watch 5 minutes of RoboCup soccer, pat the alarmist fucker gently on the head, and tell him to go introduce an Allen wrench to his anal cavity and count to 4 in binary using his hands. That being said, RoboCup soccer, programming exercise. We told the robot to kick the ball. If it kicked the ball, it should go to where the ball rested and kick it again. To collect data, right? Where do you stand? Which direction the ball gets kicked in? ECT. Make a map. Then, we left for lunch. We, a couple of students, came back to find that a not fixed flaw in the balance code had toppled one of the robots. It happens sometimes, and the guy who set up the kick the ball code had to find the ball as round and on the floor because he did not understand why the ball was also a high contrast color. Somehow, one robot had been kicking the fallen robot for over half an hour, gently in the head, while the other robot tried to get back up. Thus, each kick unbalanced robot 1, which then had to rebalance itself, thus giving more time to robot 2 to kick the head again. Big panic. OMG. We damaged extremely expensive robots, separated the robots, checked both of them, and made everything look like nothing was amiss. This day, we were thankful that the standard kick was not full strength, and that those robots can take a kicking. But yay. Robot on robot hat a crime. Dwarf Fortress. Oh dear lord, that is. I mean, first off, I know that is not what the average person understands as AI, but it is. Instead of a completionist approach, it basically simulates extremely well. Now, on topic. In Dwarf Fortress, when the AI goes duh, it is referred to as fun. Because somehow, Dwarf Fortress teaches you, if the AI goes full retard, it makes for good stories. So, what should I mention? The dwarven fortress that got killed by a single carp with teeth? The chain reaction of a dwarf's pants being on fire, the dwarf dying thanks to said burn injuries, the next dwarf noin. Wait a second, those pants look hot as fuck, mine look ratty, nobody is using them right now. Wait a second, my pants are on fire. Now, the best, most inspirational stories are where Dwarf Fortress gives you just enough to fill in the blanks. It is where a piece of software makes you forget you sit in front of a piece of software, and instead, tells you an awesome story. Like the time the only survivor of a siege was a young dwarf and his dog who then spent a lot of time burying his relatives and engraving their faces on the wall. Or, the time when a berserker dwarf made mittens out of an entire elven caravan. Just, mittens. Or, the time when I accidentally discovered that dropping children 20Z levels and watching them splatter all over the craft room was an instant way to guarantee masterwork crafts. Or, that one time, the dwarf broke both legs, could not crawl back, and spent his last hours engraving a picture of himself, best friend, wife, son, dog, laughing, before dying. If you ever should be afraid of an AI conquering the world, think Dwarf Fortress. Way back in the day, I tried to put a chatbot on Telnet to fool the other kids into thinking there was a ghost in the machine. I told 2 kids and forgot about it. It was one of the old Delta clones. Senioria, I clear out my partition, and oh look, 1000 MB. How? Closer investigation shows me that the bot had survived all the migrations, all the upgrades, and thanks to a well-hidden cron job, was restarted every time the servers were restarted. It had collected millions of lines of text. I toyed with reading the malm, but decided against it, overwrote the share, and that was that. Personally, here is the deal. I know, lots of people claim AI is weird, new and such, and they act like idiots when they try to sound more clickbaity. AI will replace us within 10 years. AI is scary. AI will destroy us all. If you meet someone like this, ask him, point blank, to show you a single implementation of anything that could not be explained as programmer error, or a single speck of original design, or shut the fuck up. Tell him, an actual engineer knows, you drop the code, you show the evidence, then you talk. If it's all, but it could happen but the sci-fi authors say, you can break it down to 2 meatheads furiously masturbating over which basketballer would be better if both had ever met. What people wanna do with AI, what people imagine AI could be like, what the movies say AI is like. Sure, that's scary, but AI in and of itself? Never. And that is an engineer talking. There was the robot designed to learn, play in perfect video games. It managed to exploit unnoticeable glitches in order to work more efficiently. It was when it played Tetris, however, the system couldn't consider the long-term impact of its decisions and kept on failing. So during one attempt, the final attempt, just before it was about to lose again, it just paused the game. You can't lose if you don't play. I didn't work on it, but someone made a Mario bot with the goal of playing Super Mario Bros. By getting the most points and learning what works. It did very well in Mario. It exploited glitches nobody told it. When the same bot played Tetris, it struggled and did something eerie. The bot noticed that the blocks were almost to the top, and instead of taking the loss, it paused the game. I was doing some tests with a neural image compression algorithm of sorts. The idea is that the neural network is fed an image, and that image gets translated into a vector that represents the idea of the image. Later, the network can take the vector and unfold it back into the original image. Well, I had been training the model, and I decided to test it on Reine Magritte's painting, The Treachery of Images. It's that painting of a pipe with the words "This is not a pipe" under it. The network was never shown a pipe before, so I was curious what would happen. It's a bit hazy, because I was doing tests at low resolutions, but this is what I got back. It's a bird. The machine didn't understand what it saw, so it guessed it was a bird. When it came time to reconstruct the memory of what it saw, it fabricated all the necessary details. The funny thing is, now when I look at that painting, I see the bird too. The elongated tail feathers, the proud strut, the open beak, calling out. The text at the bottom of the painting is a riddle. It's not a pipe at all. It's obviously a bird. Good old r/subreddit simulator would be interesting to you. It is a bunch of bot accounts trying to make cohesive posts of text or pictures. Each bot represents a subreddit, like current events, and posts AI made content about that. It isn't very smart yet, the best I've seen. was a title of further evidence that I could eat a dick with a picture of a nice vacuum. They even leave comments and such to each other. I remember reading something about Deep Blue, the computer that beat Garry Kasparov at chess. The program was being trained by chess grandmasters, one of whom compared some of Deep Blue's moves to ill-advised three-pointer attempts in basketball. He would be thinking, no, no, but then it would work, and he'd switch to yes, yes. Oh hey, finally a question that I think I'm more or less qualified to answer. Source: PhD candidate and researcher at MIT, working in applied AI for materials science. I think that some of the most interesting examples of AI are the ones where people are able to use surprising applications of transfer learning, where you train on one problem and become better at some related problem. There was a great example of this in a recent science paper, where the authors take a neural net trained first on general images, then train it to predict nighttime lighting from satellite images as a proxy for economic activity, and use that to eventually predict poverty in various regions of the world, based on daytime satellite images. Maybe one other interesting example is using AI for very industry-specific or field-specific applications. There is a great Oxford preprint where the authors get really impressive results, on par in many cases to the standard quantum chemistry approach, in training a neural net to predict properties of organic molecules, thus avoiding the need to do much more computationally expensive operations. Perhaps something scary about AI is just that it's often difficult to understand why certain algorithms work so well. Note that this is different than understanding how they work, since knowing the underlying math/code that makes the algorithm work isn't quite the same as understanding why it should outperform other methods across so many domains of research/industry. I work mostly with machine learning applied to the stock market. Most people have misconception of what AI really is. In my opinion, all it is in its current form is just applied statistics. One interesting I saw a few years ago was someone trained a neural network to play the original Super Mario game. I believe the objective function was something like progress right without dying. The final result was great, since it really solved the problem, but not the moment before it would die. The algo just paused the game. Right now, AI just isn't scary. What we call AI right now boils down to algorithms that can learn by being fed labeled data and associating relevant attributes with the category we told it the thing belonged to. Later, you can feed in unlabeled data, and it will give a probability that it belongs to certain categories. This is super useful. It's how your devices can read handwriting, recognize your face, target ads to your interests, and predict what you're going to type next. However, at this point all we have done is make AI that can make predictions based on narrow inputs and then perform a function that is predetermined by the developer. We are a far cry from creating AI that can decide to do something on its own or go against the wishes of the creator. Right now, the only scary thing about AI is how humans use it. Scariest thing: people's beliefs on the future of AI. It's not gonna be like the movies. The only thing we are capable of right now is specific intelligence. They are good at doing computer stuff and being a supercharged Siri, but they can't make decisions. They can't think. There isn't even a they. Most of the interest in AI right now is machine learning. Think Jin Yang's Not Hot Dog app and automation robots. Most interesting thing, how much money you can suck out of naive and FOMO-ridden VCS who don't know the first thing about programming. Data backlog of their online trace. From one ML account, they can trace back your birthday, other ML links, other site you registered under those accounts, phone numbers, MAC address, IP address saved, password saved, from unsecured site, and the various usernames. It cannot verify that one person, but if you linked it, they can follow those links. Interestingly, most people have single password or a small set of them. If you have those, you can easily access their latest account. Those passwords tend to be the same throughout the years. I don't think scary is actually possible. That's movie science. We are good at AI that can do a really specific task. We suck at generalizing it. But I did write a genetic algorithm to optimize a control function for a lab I worked at one time in grad school. If you don't know, the gist of a genetic algorithm is that you have a bunch of individuals that are really just chunks of data that represent some solution to your problem. You run them all in a simulation, and the ones that did better are combined with one another while the ones that did worse die, and this creates the next generation. So basically simulated evolution. Well, I didn't realize it, but I'd written a bug in my simulation where a really specific, but not really meaningful movement would evaluate extremely well. It was something that relied on two separate systems interacting exactly right. Essentially, it would mess up the physics engine. That's not completely correct, but close enough to understand. I had this running overnight on 8 servers. Every single one found the bug and exploited it, so it gave me answers that were completely not optimized for the real world, but worked awesome in the buggy simulation. I've always thought that was a really cool illustration of the power of evolutionary processes. It basically found a cheat code.